welcome to our deep dive into Belladonna.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I'm ready.
So I know you've got the book itself.
Yes.
Awesome, so we can really kind of go beyond the surface with this one.
Yeah.
So we're talking Adalyn Grace's Belladonna, YA paranormal thriller, and we've got a 19-year-old named Cigna, who's practically besties with death.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a murder mystery happening at this very intriguing Thorngrove estate.
Right.
Are you ready to unravel some secrets?
Always?
All right, so one of the things that really struck me about Belladonna right from the start
Okay.
is how Grace uses Cigna's connection to death. It's not just a spooky plot device,
Yeah.
It's like woven into who she is as a character.
Absolutely. It's very central to her character, and we see that right from the very beginning of the story
Oh, yeah.
when we're introduced to Cigna
Mhm.
as a 2-month-old baby, and she's already touched by death with her mother's sudden passing.
Yeah, and it's not just like a one-off event. Her whole childhood is kind of marked by these deaths of her guardians. It makes her almost like a walking omen.
It does, and that's exactly how people see her, as this kind of harbinger of death.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Cigna doesn't really seem to fear death itself.
That's a really good point. I think it's because she's grown up with it so closely that she's almost resigned to it.
Yeah.
In a way, she even views it as a companion.
Yeah, like a constant presence.
Yeah, and this acceptance, I think, is what allows her to develop that really unique relationship with death.
Yeah.
A relationship that goes beyond just fear or revulsion.
Right, and that brings us to the invitation from Elijah Hawthorne.
Oh yes, the master of Thorngrove.
It's almost like a beacon of hope for Cigna.
It is. It's a chance for her to escape that very isolated life that she's been living.
And who wouldn't be tempted by a mysterious estate with a never-ending charcuterie board?
Oh, I know, right? That sounds pretty amazing.
Right.
But Thorngrove itself it's much more than just a fancy estate.
Oh, yeah.
It's really like a character in the story.
Yeah, it's got its own personality.
It does, steeped in secrets with this atmosphere of like beauty but also decay. Kind of like the belladonna flower itself.
Ooh, that's where it gets really interesting, right? Because belladonna, or deadly nightshade,
Right.
beautiful flower,
Right.
but it's also incredibly toxic.
Exactly.
It's kind of reflecting those themes we see throughout the story.
Absolutely, like a blurring of the lines between life and death and beauty and danger.
Yeah.
And of course, the choices that Cigna has to make.
Yeah, and those choices are tough, and that duality is also mirrored in the characters we meet at Thorngrove.
Right, like Elijah Hawthorne, for example.
Yeah, he's grieving his wife Lillian, but there's something more there.
There is.
I don't know, he seems almost haunted.
Yeah, trapped by her memory in a way.
Yeah, and then there's his children.
Oh, Percy and Blythe.
Yeah, they're each grappling with their own struggles.
They are. Percy's trying so hard to live up to his father's expectations.
Yeah, and Blythe is just kind of wasting away from this mysterious illness.
Right, and they both seem like they're caught up in this game they don't even understand.
Yeah, it makes you wonder who is playing this game, right?
Yeah.
Who's pulling the strings?
Exactly, and the suspicion falls on a few pretty intriguing characters.
Yeah, there are some shady characters at Thorngrove.
Oh, yeah. We've got Silas Storley.
Yeah.
He's that skilled and mysterious stable boy who becomes Cigna's ally.
Mm-hmm.
But his motives aren't clear, are they?
Not really. And then there's Marjorie Hargreaves.
Oh, the governess?
Yeah, she's got a hidden past and a connection to Elijah that's a little bit...
A little bit more than just employer-employee.
Yeah. And of course, we can't forget about Death himself.
Oh, no, he's a major player.
Adalyn Grace gives him a voice like water in a meadow and a surprising sense of humor.
She does, and this undeniable connection to Cigna.
Right, and it goes beyond just her curse.
I know. It's really fascinating how she takes this classic Grim Reaper figure and flips it on its head.
Yeah.
He's both terrifying and alluring at the same time. And his interactions with Cigna just suggest this deeper understanding.
Right, like he knows her better than anybody else.
Yeah, but he's also a constant reminder of the power and danger of her abilities.
Right, and it's like he's a part of her, but also this force she needs to control.
Exactly, a force to be reckoned with.
And speaking of control, let's talk about the poisonings at Thorngrove.
Oh, yes, the mystery at the heart of it all.
Yeah, starting with Lillian's death, Cigna discovers her spirit in that secret garden,
Right.
poisoned by Belladonna.
Of course.
And that's when the investigation really kicks off.
Right, and this is where Cigna's unique abilities come into play.
Oh, yeah. She uses Belladonna to enhance her powers.
She does. It allows her to communicate with spirits and see glimpses of the past.
But it's a risky game.
It is. It's like she's walking a tightrope between the world of the living and the dead.
Ooh. I like that analogy.
And one wrong step could send her tumbling over the edge.
It really captures the danger inherent in her powers.
Right. It's not just about solving this mystery. It's about her understanding the extent of her abilities and what could happen if she's not careful.
And she doesn't shy away from the challenge.
No, she doesn't. She dives headfirst into this investigation.
She does. She teams up with Silas.
Right. He's the one who knows all the ins and outs of Thorngrove.
Yeah, while she's navigating the world of spirits.
It's a great partnership.
It is. And I love the romantic tension between them.
Oh, it's electric.
You can't help but root for them. But then there's that pull between Cigna and Death,
Ah, yes, the complicated.
which makes things so much more interesting.
It's a classic love triangle, but with a supernatural twist.
Right. Silas represents life connection, the future.
Yeah, he's her link to the world of the living.
And then there's Death, who embodies the darkness, the unknown.
And that power that Cigna is only just starting to grasp.
So she's caught between these two opposing forces.
She is, and her choices reflect that struggle.
It's not just about who she ends up with.
It's about who she wants to be, what path she chooses for herself.
And those choices lead to the climax at the masquerade ball.
Oh, yes, where Julius Wakefield
Everett's father,
is poisoned.
that's a huge turning point.
It shifts everything.
Yeah, and it sets the stage for some even bigger revelations.
Absolutely. It changes the whole game.
But before we dive into those,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to stop and consider why this poisoning is so significant.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Julius Wakefield, he represents the old order, the established power structure
Right.
that Cygnus has always been on the outside of.
Yeah, she's never been a part of that world.
So his death really symbolizes a disruption of that order.
It does. It's like the foundation of their world is starting to crack.
And what's brilliant is
Yeah.
that Grace doesn't immediately reveal who did it.
No, she keeps us guessing.
We're left to speculate and analyze all the clues.
Right, and question everyone's motives.
Like we're playing detective right alongside Cigna.
Exactly, trying to piece it all together.
And just when we think we have it figured out,
There's a twist.
yeah, she throws us a curveball.
That makes us question everything.
And that's a twist that we will unravel in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, I can't wait.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we left off with that poisoning at the masquerade ball, Julius Wakefield down.
Yeah, big twist.
But you know what's really interesting is how it just throws everything we thought we knew into question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the most obvious suspect would be Byron, right? Elijah's brother.
Yeah, he wants control of that exclusive Club Grays.
Right. But then we have that whole revelation about Percy's parentage.
Oh, yeah.
And it just makes you look at everything differently.
It does. It makes you wonder if Percy was even involved somehow.
Right, exactly. And that's what makes this mystery so good.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding the killer. It's about understanding why.
Yeah, all those tangled relationships and motivations.
Absolutely. And Grace just dives right into those complexities, especially within the Hawthorne family.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, take the reveal about Marjorie's journals.
Oh, yeah. She never actually names the man she loved,
Right.
but the way she describes him.
Yeah. And that shared resemblance with Percy.
Right. And the fact that he was involved with Grace, it all points to Byron.
Well, so Percy's not Elijah's son,
Nope.
and he's the product of this affair between Marjorie and Byron.
It seems so.
It makes so much sense why Percy felt so insecure, so desperate to prove himself.
Of course he was fighting for a place in a family that wasn't really his.
Yeah, carrying the weight of this secret that he didn't even know about.
It adds this whole other layer to his character.
It does. You almost feel sorry for him.
Yeah, even the poisoning of Julius, you can kind of understand why he might have done it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't excuse it,
No, of course not.
but it adds this complexity.
Absolutely.
And what's even more heartbreaking is that Elijah knew the truth,
He did. He chose to protect Percy to honor Lillian's memory.
even if it meant living with that betrayal from his brother.
It really shows Elijah's character, his capacity for forgiveness.
Yeah, it makes you think about the secrets we keep and how they affect those we love.
Right, exactly. The burdens we carry.
It makes you wonder if Percy ever really understood how much Elijah loved him.
That he was already accepted.
Yeah, bloodlines or not.
And this kind of brings us back to Cigna
Yeah.
and her own struggle to find her place.
In this whole mess of a family,
Right, exactly. And her connection with death, it just keeps getting deeper.
especially after that encounter at the ball.
Oh, that dance in the shadows.
Yeah, and that stolen kiss.
It's pretty clear she's drawn to him, to that darkness.
Yeah, but it's more than just physical attraction.
Oh, definitely. It's like they
Yeah.
get each other.
Yeah, Death sees her, understands her connection to the spirit world.
And he doesn't try to change her.
Yeah, he even encourages her to consider Everett Wakefield as a suitor.
I know, right? Who would have thought Death would be giving relationship advice?
It's like he wants her to experience life, not just death.
Yeah, I think he genuinely cares for her.
Yeah, he wants her to be happy.
To find some fulfillment in the world of the living.
And Everett with all his money and his title.
Yeah, he represents that normal life that Cigna has always wanted.
But there's something off about Everett.
Isn't there? He's almost too perfect.
Yeah, he's too eager to possess Cigna.
Right. Not really understand her.
And I think Cigna senses that too.
She does. She's trying to convince herself that a life with him would be safe.
Secure.
But I think deep down she knows it would be a cage.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to be her true self.
And this all comes to a head at that party.
One celebrating the Hawthorne-Wakefield partnership.
Oh, yeah, where Julius is just sizing Cigna up.
He's so arrogant.
He sees her as, like, this acquisition, not a person.
And it reminds Cigna of all those people who have tried to control her, to use her.
Exactly. And it solidifies her doubts about Everett.
Yeah, and then, bam, Julius is poisoned.
Another twist.
Chaos ensues. Everyone's pointing fingers at Byron.
It does seem like the obvious conclusion.
Right. He had the motive. He had the opportunity.
But Grace isn't done with us yet.
Oh, no.
Remember that young man who shows up?
The one with those gold eyes?
Yes, he's not a guest, he's a spirit.
Oh, right.
And he makes a startling discovery.
What's that?
Julius wasn't poisoned with Belladonna. It was cyanide.
Whoa, wait a minute. This changes everything.
It does.
If it wasn't Byron, then who?
And why cyanide?
Yeah, it seems so cold, so calculated.
It does suggest a different motive altogether.
Right, like a personal vendetta.
Someone who wanted Julius silenced for good.
Yeah, someone close enough to have access to him.
But to figure out who, we need to look back.
And all those little clues.
The details that Grace has sprinkled throughout the story.
It's like we're back at square one.
But the stakes are even higher now.
And I have a feeling the answer is closer than we think.
I think you might be right about that.
But we'll have to save that final reveal for part 3 of our deep dive. Okay, so Julius Wakefield poisoned, not Belladonna this time though, right?
No, cyanide.
Cyanide. Which makes it seem like a much more calculated killing, doesn't it?
It does. It really points to someone with a more personal motive.
Yeah, like not just about business or power.
Right, exactly. And remember how Belladonna has been so central to the story?
Yeah, tied to Cigna and the spirits.
Exactly. So the shift to cyanide, it feels deliberate, like Grace is giving us a new puzzle to solve.
Yeah, a new direction to look in. And if we move away from Byron as our main suspect, who else had a reason to want Julius out of the picture?
That's the question, isn't it? And remember those little details, those seemingly unimportant things that Grace includes.
Oh yeah, she's great at hiding clues in plain sight.
Exactly. And I think if we look back at Eliza Wakefield.
Oh, Everett's sister.
Yeah, think about how she was always chasing after Percy.
Yeah, and frustrated with Charlotte.
Right, always gossiping and manipulating people.
It's like those aren't just personality traits.
No, they paint a picture of someone who's very ambitious.
Yeah, and willing to do whatever it takes to get what she wants.
And there was that one detail you mentioned before about Eliza and her fan.
Oh yeah, the tea doily fan.
Yeah, the one she was constantly waving around.
She did seem attached to it.
You hinted that it might be more than just a fashion accessory.
I did, and I remember how Grace describes it as almost lethal in its delicacy.
Yeah, that's not just a random description.
So it's foreshadowing.
It is. It's like the fan represents Eliza's hidden darkness.
Okay, so are you saying that Eliza poisoned Julius with cyanide that she hid in her fan?
I think it's a very real possibility.
That's pretty bold.
Bold but brilliant. Nobody would suspect her.
Especially with Byron right there looking guilty.
Exactly. She could have easily slipped the poison into Julius's drink during all the commotion at the party.
And the fan would have provided the perfect cover.
With all that movement, nobody would have noticed a thing.
It's kind of a terrifying thought.
It is. But it makes sense when you think about it. Julius was standing in the way of everything Eliza wanted.
With him gone, she could finally get Percy's attention. Maybe even force him into marrying her.
And she would have control of the Wakefield fortune.
So even in a world of fancy parties and social graces, there's still this underlying darkness.
There is. And sometimes the people who seem the most innocent can be the most dangerous.
It's a good reminder to never underestimate anyone.
And it makes you appreciate characters like Charlotte even more.
Yes, she's so kind and genuine.
She really is a ray of light in this world of secrets and betrayals.
She never lets the darkness consume her.
And her relationship with Percy, it's built on real love and respect.
Yeah, it's such a contrast to the toxic desire that drives Eliza.
Speaking of toxic desire, we should probably circle back to Cigna and death.
Oh yeah, after all that happened with Eliza, I bet that really affected Cigna.
It must have, seeing the consequences of Eliza's choices, all that pain and loss, it forces Cigna to confront the darkness inside herself.
Yeah, the darker side of her own powers.
It's a reminder that power, especially over life and death, comes with a huge responsibility.
And even though she's faced with all that darkness in that last scene in the garden, there's a sense of peace.
Isn't there?
It's like Cigna finally accepts who she is.
She chooses to walk alongside death, not because she has to, but because she understands now.
Yeah, she's not afraid of her powers anymore.
She's embracing them.
As part of herself.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not about choosing between light and darkness.
It's about finding balance.
And that final image of them walking into the forest together,
So powerful.
it's like a door opening to a world of possibilities.
A world beyond all those societal rules and expectations.
And even beyond the boundaries of life and death.
It feels like Cigna's journey is just beginning.
It does, and I can't wait to see where she goes next.
So there you have it, our deep dive into Belladonna.
It's been quite a journey.
It has full of love and loss and betrayal.
And ultimately self-acceptance.
It's a story that makes you think about the choices we make,
And the secrets we keep.
the power we have within ourselves.
And for you, listener, what mysteries lie within you? What choices would you make if you were faced with the allure of power, the weight of secrets, and the complexities of life and death?
Until next time, keep those pages turning and those minds open to the endless possibilities that stories like Belladonna offer.